Here we are in Bolton, Massachusetts at a man-made lake, and I'm going to be sharing some information about the lakes and ponds biome. So in the lakes and ponds biome, what makes it a lake or a pond is that it's standing water. They contain emergent vegetation, which is essentially plants, and lakes are generally bigger than ponds. Some major lakes include Lake Superior in Michigan and Lake Baikal in Russia. Right now we are at the James's Pond in Bolton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So this pond right here gets its water from three different ways: from groundwater, from precipitation, and from the stream, like is shown right here. The area around the ponds all contribute to what is called the watershed. So as you can see, this is the watershed that surrounds the pond here, and it's a very healthy, natural environment, and you can tell by the clarity of the water. You can't see much because of the glare, but you can see down into the bottom. And on a sunny day, you could pretty much see all the way to the bottom. The depth of this pond here is roughly 15 feet, but lakes and ponds can range from as shallow as 5 feet deep to up over 1,000 feet deep. So all lakes have natural salinity and distance from the ocean. Another one is the geology of like the rocks in the surrounding areas, how much salt they give off. So another factor for salinity is the watershed. So for example, back here some land is for sale beyond the farm. And if there's houses being built with a road going up and that road is salted during the winter, that salt will eventually make its way down into this pond right here, increasing the salinity. The Great Salt Lake, located in Utah, has a very high salinity level, somewhere around in the thousands of milligrams per liter. Very high salt concentration. Meanwhile, Lake Superior in Michigan has roughly 75 milligrams per liter, so obviously a huge difference between the two. So, although the salinity of this pond right here is unknown, we're only 35 miles from the ocean in Bolton, so a hurricane of some sort, like Hurricane Irene, could have taken that salt water off the ocean and just blown it in with the rain and increased the salinity here in the pond.
Okay.
Another factor is the amount of dissolved oxygen in the water. So in this pond here, there's enough dissolved oxygen so that trout can survive in it, way down at the bottom. But a lot of the ponds around here, because this is about 15 feet deep, a lot of the other ponds around here are pretty shallow and wouldn't be able to support the trout. So here we have the littoral zone, the cattails. Many animals that live. Some of them include insects, some of them include birds. Birds will live in the cattails. Tadpoles will live along the banks, and then the frogs too will hunt. Gravel bottom and a lot of pondweed. Moving to the limnetic zone, this is the open water in the middle of the pond. What lives here is like floating algae and anything that doesn't require roots that can float and still survive. Now the third zone is the profundal zone, and this zone is so deep actually that the sunlight doesn't penetrate it. So not much lives down there, and obviously in this pond there isn't a profundal zone, only being 15 feet deep, but in a deep lake, fish would live down there. So some plants that live here in ponds and lakes are duckweed. Duckweed float that are attached to the bottom include water lilies, and another that floats in the water. It's probably the smallest is the phytoplankton.
Okay.
Living animals that live in the biome are include birds, amphibians, fish, insects, reptiles, and mollusks. So, as well as the pond biome being right here, we have a very dense forest right next to me here. And, well, the pond's really important for all of the creatures that live in this forest, because foxes and deer will come out and you know, like drink out of the pond, and multiple biomes bordering each other coming together is important for diversity. This interaction between two different biomes is also found throughout the world. A problem that these ponds here can face is that although the field isn't a cornfield or something that would need pesticides, many fields are, and so they use these pesticides. The pesticides leak down off the fields when it rains, gets into the soil, and eventually ends up in the ponds. This poisons the pond's environment and is obviously a negative effect on the pond. Before there's some land for sale up in the woods and harmful fertilizers on their lawn to obviously make their grass look nice. The rain comes and that water comes down the hill, ends up in the pond, and with the fertilizer that can increase nitrogen, which promotes algae bloom. One species called Phragmites, which is an invasive species, so it's just restricting growth of the incoming cattail population.